Hey everybody, with NFL free agency kicking off, it's been kind of crazy. We've seen big time Pro Bowl offensive tackles getting traded. Yeah, I know who I'm talking about. That Larry Tunzel trade, that was crazy. We've seen a lot of player movement, a lot of unexpected player movement, a lot of expected player movement. But today specifically, I want to talk about my personal team, the Baltimore Ravens, man. The Baltimore Ravens. So far is day two. And in totality, the Ravens have made two moves, both re-signings. Don't get me wrong; these were I think, some pretty necessary re-signings. Well, at least the first one, which was re-signing Ronnie Stanley. He's the bread and butter. He's the backbone of the offensive line. That makes sense. And then our second re-signing was our fullback, Patrick. He seems like a Baltimore for lifer. I have no problems with that. These re-signings I think are pretty good. But the problem that I have with the Baltimore Ravens in this free agency is it seems that we're content in running it back. Now, don't get me wrong. Excuse me. The Baltimore Ravens roster from last season was a pretty damn good roster. But even then, even if you were to beat the Bills, you weren't going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, I call them that because that's what they are. I'm a glorified Kansas City hater, but even I can recognize greatness. We can't beat that team, and even if we did, we had no shot against Philly. No shot. From offense to defense, their team is just stacked with weapons. We don't have that type of weapons. We don't have those type of weapons. See, because the Baltimore Ravens are too content, apologies, with allowing Lamar Jackson to be not necessarily a one man army, but they really they dive deep into that. Now, don't get me wrong. Last season, acquiring the man, the myth, the legend at running back, that was a great improvement. But even so, defense aside, which we'll get to, don't worry, we'll get to. Defense aside, Baltimore don't got enough weapons, man. They just don't got it. Let's break it down. From their offensive line, I feel like they greatly improved on their offensive line from the 2023 season. That offensive line was abysmal. I'm a big fan of Roger. He's a great lineman. Great lineman. Young, tangible. He could move around on the offensive line. Ronnie Stanley, we know what he is. Pro Bowl tackle. We know what he is. Tyler, amazing center. One of the best in the league, in my opinion. And then, we get a little murky with Falele, but he's really necessarily, he was drafted because he's a big body. If I remember correctly, 6'8" guard, if I remember. So our O-line's fine. Quarterback, we have arguably top three quarterback right now. Not arguably, he is. He's a top three quarterback right now. We have one of the best running backs in the game. And then that's where it kind of becomes murky in terms of the offense. Zay Flowers is an outstanding receiver, and I don't think people give him enough credit. He's not in the conversations with the top receivers, and I don't know why. If I remember correctly, he's a second-year receiver. He's going into his third year this season, and he's been nothing short of spectacular. Spectacular. He's the definition of a playmaking receiver. You give him that ball in the slant, he has the chance to cribbing that. He could take that straight to the house. That's the type of weapons that Lamar Jackson needs in Baltimore. Mark Andrews. We all saw that drop against the Buffalo Bills. We all saw it. There's no need to really harp on it. It happened. It happens. But we've seen this time and time again that when it comes to moments that really matter, we don't really have a guy where we could say, hey, win us this game. Now, before you get to type it on your keyboard, before you start attacking me in the comments, let me explain myself. Lamar in the regular season, damn near top two, top one quarterback. But when it comes to the playoffs, there's just something about his play that just doesn't translate into the playoffs as well as it does in the regular season. I don't know if it's nerves, jitters, opposing team have better game planning for him. Whatever it is, he's just not as effective in the playoffs. Everybody knows it. It is what it is. So instead of saying, Lamar, he'll get it eventually, because if you keep saying that year after year, you're just shaving off years and years. Sorry about that. But years and years of possible Super Bowl appearances. Because you can't wait for Lamar to put the team on his back in the final moments in a game, in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I feel like Lamar should be able to say, hey, team, I'm going to get us this win. But as we've seen, he can't. He cannot do it. And instead of, as the team, saying, hey, let's just keep running it back, we need to add players to the roster where, like, hey, give me that ball, Lamar. I got us. See, Zay Flowers very much could have been one of those players. He got injured playoff time. It happens. If we have him against the Bills, could have ended differently? Possibly. But at the end of the day, the result is the same. Lamar, and I've been saying this since 2022, Lamar needs offensive weapons. Mark Andrews being his favorite target, that's fine. But Mark Andrews isn't the most reliable first option or the most reliable target in the NFL. Then, tight end 2, Isaiah Likely, he's a damn good tight end. Most teams he'd be tight end 1. And he has plenty of room for growth. Growth. I feel like he could develop into a nice, reliable target to Lamar Jackson, which he proved during the regular season. During a lot of big games, well, not necessarily big, but big moments in late regular season games. For example, when the beginning of the season, when Mark Andrews, he wasn't starting too hot, Isaiah Likely took a lot of that load. For example, game 1 of the season, he caught the potential game-winning touchdown or game-tying touchdown, but it was ruled out of bounds. But he's had multiple plays like that throughout the regular season. And I just feel that, in the playoffs where it matters the most, Lamar wants to give it to his number one target, which was Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews just wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready for it. But it's not his fault. We could also blame the play calling. I don't understand, because if you look into the history of that play, I don't think it's worked once in a meaningful moment. But that's besides the point. We're not here to talk about the coaching. That could be a whole separate video. The moves that they haven't made is infuriating, because they're just too content with running back a team that in the playoffs hasn't done shit. Hasn't done nothing. Nothing. You're going to tell me a Lamar Jackson-led team has never been to the Super Bowl? And when you look at why, it makes a lot of sense. It really makes a lot of sense. The receiver group is always the receiver room, to be exact, has always been an issue. Always been an issue. We don't have a wide receiver 3. In our wide receiver 2, he had a pretty good season last season, but at the end of the day, he's not a reliable option. Zay Flowers, wide receiver 1, year 3. Cool. He's going into year 3. But year 2, you want to trust the second-year rookie? Well, not rookie, a sophomore player with the burden of saying, hey, catches this ball and win us this game. Is that what you want to do? We have no reliable veterans, man. No 27 to 28-year-old receivers or like skilled players that we can just say, hey, you've been in these type of situations before. You know the pressure of these situations. You can handle the pressure of these situations. I'm going to throw you this ball. You get open, you catch this ball. We don't have players like that besides Mark Andrews. And he's proven that he can lose us a game. But that's not his fault. That's not his fault. Well, it's not entirely his fault because, at the end of the day, you get paid to catch the ball. You got to catch the ball. But anyways, our defense. The main problem with our defense was our secondary unit was atrocious. The Baltimore Ravens in recent years have been trying to fix that with drafting Nate Wiggins in the first round. He's been one of the best defensive rookies last season. Outstanding player. Marlon Humphreys had a great year. Practically damn near a career year. Kyle Hamilton, after he got switched to his more natural position, he was able to excel. But even then, man, we had Darius Washington. What is he, like 5'8"? We had just no sort of like reliability in the backfield. And even then, we're losing DBs. Brandon Stevens, he's gone. Well, don't get me wrong, wasn't nothing special, but again, we're losing more than we're gaining. The point is to improve the secondary, not let it get worse. And I've seen that we were the favorites to get Jair. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But seeing the market for players that have been traded recently, like DK Metcalf, you're going to tell me DK Metcalf, he's going for like what, third? We can't cough up at maximum a second for Jair. A team which said they're open to trading him. I understand why we haven't pulled that trigger. And maybe it's in the works. Maybe it'll happen later down the road. But as of right now, the Baltimore Ravens have done nothing. Now, my recommendation for the team, closing up here, would be we need to sign some offensive, not even sign, trade, draft, whatever we do before week 1 of the season, we need to get a reliable offensive player. I don't know who, but somebody. 2, we need to pull that trigger on that Jair trade. Because if the Baltimore Ravens get bounced out again without going to the Super Bowl another year, then we're going to have some serious talks about the future of Baltimore. So we need to start putting some eggs in the basket right now. Because I doubt, we give up a second for Jair. I doubt we're going to need to draft the corner anyways. Are we going to draft the second-round corner better than Jair? In this draft? I don't think so. Not saying nothing wrong is with this draft. This is a fairly decent draft, but we don't. It's a deep draft, but there's not necessarily blue chip players falling this far in the draft to the second round. In the first round, we drafted another safety. Nick Imawari, who had the most insane physicals by a safety ever, I think. Or Malachi Starks. who I think is a top 15 talent-wise player in this draft. I think he has the potential to be a blue chip player who could really change the course of a franchise. I think he has the type of talent. So I feel like those are the real big three moves we need to make. Because the offensive line, it's don't get me wrong, we recently just lost I think our right tackle in free agency, but our offensive line isn't necessarily a cause for concern as of late. That could change at any moment, but as of late, our offensive line is pretty fine. And our offensive line are available in free agency. Don't get me wrong, they're definitely available. So if for whatever reason we need offensive line, we can sign a free agent or trade for someone. It's not hard. There's a lot of available offensive line. We just saw Laramie Tunzel get traded. So if you need an offensive lineman, whoever, you can go out and trade for it. But with that being said, the Ravens need to make some moves because their biggest rival, the Steelers, they're making some damn moves. DK Metcalf, that's a damn good move. Let alone the rest of the moves that they're making and are probably going to make because they're putting their eggs in a basket. They're trying to contend. They're trying to win. And Baltimore needs to do the same, or else a lot of awkward and conversations are going to arise if another playoff disappointment happens from Baltimore. So I want to see better from Baltimore. Hopefully we do. With that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Love y'all.